And we're back with another episode of the Lakers Fast Break podcast. It's Gerald Glassford coming right back at you here from Lakers Fast Break, Pop Culture Cosmos, where we cover the latest news and trends in pop culture each and every week, twice a week, wherever you get your podcasts. I just finished an episode with Josh Peterson. We've uploaded it this afternoon, and hopefully you'll give it a listen because we talk about the latest goings on, including another Matrix. Plus, we talk about the box office and so much more. So go ahead and stop on by right here at, of course, the Pop Culture Cosmos. Also as well, of course, Joe Soro. He is flying around somewhere with his broom as the witch he is, but he is flying around somewhere for Simblades with the Y.com. Plus also as well, he is Oxide247 at LakersBall.com. But go ahead and make sure you give him a special howdy if you see him out there in the Temecula area. Plus also, of course, the Lakerholics crew. Laker Tom stopped on by. He's probably bummed the Lakers didn't finish the season undefeated. But, you know, he is still raring to go with some great articles and also great tweets at Lakerholics.com. Great to have everyone here all over the world already joining us already. They cannot thank you enough for doing so. Peruvian guy, Jeremy in Australia, Daniel Berry Sports Highlights, yo, also as well, of course, John Costas, Lakers Corner Clutch Talk, of course, also as well, Empire Jeff TV, of course, also as well, Lakers in 5, John McCalian channel, all the great places that you can go. Please support them. And speaking of supporting places you can go, including a revamped, revitalized Twitter account you need to go ahead and check out at report_corp for your latest intel on the NBA draft. Plus also, of course, go ahead and make sure you like, share, follow, and subscribe. 5 stars as well for everything that's going on right here at the Lakers Fast Break. Well, the Lakers, unfortunately, falling last night in more ways than one as LeBron out with the stomach virus, AD getting smacked in the face yet again. No call by the refs. God forbid they would want to go ahead and call a foul on that one. At least, you know, what can you say? But unfortunately, the Lakers did lose last night. And with that, makes the trek for the next 3 games a little bit more difficult now that they're back in 9th place in the Western Conference. But here today to discuss the Lakers' chances as far as what they can do in the next week, which is still very viable for us, but a lot more things have to fall right in our place. Good man indeed. Again, no one in the world, in the absolute world, has done more training, done more viewing, done more research over the past few years, and he's now getting back into it again. Again, he thought he could get out, but it was calling him. Said, Stone, Stone, we're calling you back. Draft prospects. So he's back doing what he loves doing, scouting prospects at report_court. It is Stone Hansen, the man, the myth, the legend himself. Stone, great to have you here as always. How you been, my friend?
Good. I've been busy doing some scouting work, like you said. But I know I love it too much to just walk away completely. But
you went cold turkey. You did go cold turkey for a while.
I did. It's definitely more casual this time around. I'll say that it's definitely going to be more of a hobby than anything, but definitely still involved in having fun with it this time. So yeah, it's been fun doing some scouting stuff. I'm only like 13 players in so far. I'm hoping to hit 100 by draft time. We'll see if I can do it or not. But yeah, it's going good. It would be better if the Lakers had won last night, but here we are regardless.
Yeah, Kyle Anderson had other answers when he smacked AD alongside the face, but yeah, absolutely. When Gerald was saying Stone, he sounded like Herbert from Family Guy. Okay, there you go, Alan. But it is, of course, the Lakers fast break. JSJ, we do not have it confirmed and locked up for 9th place yet in the Western Conference. A win tomorrow would clinch it for the Los Angeles Lakers against the Golden State Warriors. again, the status of AD Stone up in the air. We've not heard definitive reports. We've only heard Dave McMenamin saying that there is the likelihood, or I should say the possibility, I should say, of him coming back. But your thoughts on the injury to AD and how it affected the Lakers last night?
Well, I didn't see the injury or the game last night, but I do think that I'd I'd be surprised if he doesn't play if it's questionable because of the Lakers situation right now. I think they're going to try and do all they can to win out. You can only control what you can control. You can't control the fate of the other teams. Um, and I think the Lakers are going to try and get as much control as they can over these last 3 games to do what they can and do their part to try and move up in the standings and not have to do 2 playing games and rather do one. So I think that I can't really speak on how it affected the game last night, but I can speak on how it'll affect us to end it. And it's not optimal to have, I mean, everyone headed into the play-in and playoffs is banged up. Like that's a part of the NBA regular season. Every year you hear after the playoffs end, such and such player X was dealing with this injury. Guys are bruised and beat up by the time they get to the playoffs. It's just a part of the job and it's expected. And it's no different really for AD. And I think that if they're saying he's probably likely to play the next game, then um, I think that's good for us because it's just like any other bump or hit that you take along the road, and it's not going to hinder his status headed into the play-in, which is what's most important.
He's taken several shots to that eye over the past month. So that's what's concerning me in that area, right alongside, right? It's just very concerning that he keeps taking shots to it. He doesn't or hasn't yet decided to use protective wear for that. Would you, if you're there on the coaching staff, recommend that he might go to some type of protective eyewear for that to treat, or at least to protect that injury?
Mm, it depends. I mean, on one hand, it can't hurt, right, to have more protective. I mean, for any player to wear more things to protect you. But on the other hand, it also depends on what sort of eyewear and goggles he has because obviously they have to sit on your face. So maybe having that pressure on the area that he keeps getting hit might irritate it even more. So I don't know. I don't really have a good answer for that. I guess I'll leave it up to their professionals and the health team on the Lakers staff.
Well, a lot of players are very resistant to wearing goggles. I mean, we've seen some of the greatest play with goggles. Of course, Kareem, Worthy come to mind, but a lot of players over the years have been resistant to go ahead and have any kind of eyewear. But as playing the game, and as I do, I mean, the hands, they get into the eyes, the fingers, they get into the eyes, the nails they scratch, just eye injuries are very commonplace in basketball. And with AD having repeated shots to that area, it comes to me as concern that it might happen again real soon, even when he gets back out there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you can't predict injury. The only thing you can do is try and prevent, like you're saying. A better option might even be a mask instead of goggles because, like I said, with goggles, they have to sit like around here on your face. So it might irritate it more. If you have a mask, maybe the pressure points would be more on the bridge of your nose and your forehead, things like that to make it not as irritating for the specific area he keeps getting hit. So that might be a better option. I personally, I've worn goggles playing before. I hate it. I understand why players do. They fog up your hair. If you have longer hair, gets stuck in it. And they get pulled around if someone catches the elbow and it moves it real quick. I mean, there's a lot of things that can go wrong wearing goggles, and I understand why players don't like wearing them. But if it's necessary, it's necessary. I think a mask might be a better option though.
For the status of LeBron, who had the stomach virus and missed yesterday's game, and AD on his eye, please keep in touch to @LakersFastBreak. I will make sure I retweet that out there to go ahead and get you the latest notifications on what's going on with the Lakers and injury status. I'm assuming the injury report will have the standard LeBron James questionable for his ankle tendonitis, and then also we don't know the status yet for AD for sure. But again, Dave McMenamin reported a little bit after the game that sources that he has close to the Lakers organization say there's a decent chance that he will be in tomorrow's game. So we'll see. Absolutely. And as soon as we get confirmation either which way, we'll make sure we retweet that out there and make sure we have it set for you for tomorrow night's game as well. Hopefully we can do a pregame and get you started with that. But I will say, though, again, Stone, great to have you here. The Lakers do play tomorrow in a key game. And I say key game, not only to move up in the standings, but to once and for all finally put Golden State firmly in the rearview mirror. Because right now, as of now, I know Joe doesn't like the half games at this time of the year, but I'm just going to say it anyways. They're a game and a half in front, a game ahead in the loss column to the Golden State Warriors. A win tomorrow will put them definitively in the 10th spot, Golden State, in the Western Conference, and keep the Lakers at the very minimum in the 9th place in the Western Conference. Your thoughts on tomorrow night's game against Golden State?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's extremely important for both the Lakers and the Warriors because you don't want the Warriors to, one, get closer to you because then that means you're only a half game behind, right? And then two, to get momentum because, if they win tomorrow, maybe they carry that into the next game and start something and then overtake the Lakers, which would not be good. So I think that both teams know the stakes. Both teams are going to try and do what they can. The Lakers are probably doing it more or their incentive is more keeping their hopes of moving out of the 9-10 and into the 7-8 in the Warriors. Or their incentive obviously is to try and get home court. I don't think it's very likely for them to move much higher than 9. But yeah, it's very important, and I think that I still think even if we lose tomorrow, we have a pretty good chance of at least being the 9 seed because I think we probably win out those last 2 games. It's no guarantee, but I feel pretty confident that even if we were to lose tomorrow, that we would still at least be the 9 seed. So, but again, we want to be higher than the 9 seed ideally, and if beating the Warriors is a step to that, then by all means, I think we should treat it with the importance of such.
Once again, it is the Lakers Fast Break. It is Stone Hansen along with me, Gerald Glassford. Thanks so much again for watching and listening. Truly appreciate it. It is, of course, the guy behind @report_court for the latest on draft prospects. He's back in it again. Go ahead and check out what he's doing today @report_court. And if you missed that, I have it always in the description now from going forward as well. So go ahead and check him out @report_court for Stone Hansen. But Stone, so let's take a look. I did a deep dive with Joe the other day on the standings in the Western Conference. And normally I would say that the odds are long on it, but things over the course of the next week, because the Lakers have played an extra game, so they only have 3 left. But most of the other teams involved, Stone, have 4 games left on the docket. So there is room if they go 500 in those games between the Kings, Pelicans, and Suns that the Lakers can make up for, because the Kings, of the 3 teams above us in the standing, Stone, only the Kings have the tiebreaker against us as of now. So your thoughts, if they can climb over the Kings, who play against the Pelicans this week, so one of them has got to lose. That gives us, at least if we go 3-0, some hope to move up in the standings.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think 7, 8, 9 is pretty much just a guessing game, and I don't know how it's going to shake out. I think it's pretty. I've been pretty vocal in thinking that it's going to come down to the final game or the final night of all the games being played. I don't think we're going to really know the true standings until then. And that a part of that is the Lakers, obviously, because they play the Pelicans. So I don't think we're going to really know until then. I feel pretty confident the Lakers are going to win out. I think the Lakers will win the next three, if not at least the next two, or two, the next two out of the three. But I feel good that we'll win the next three. I think 6 is pretty much over. I know mathematically not, but I think it's the Suns are going to have to lose 2 of the next 3, and the Lakers are going to have to win out all 3 for it to happen. I feel more confident that the Lakers can do that. Less confident that the Suns would lose 2. Even despite the teams they're playing, they're on one right now, and they're getting hot at the right time. So I wouldn't bank on them losing 2. So I think it's between 7, 8, 9, and you know, I don't know how it's going to shake out, and I don't know what seed I really want between 7, 8, 9. I mean, I want probably a top 8 seed because I don't want to have to play 2 play-ins. But without knowing what the top standings are going to be either until likely the final night, then I don't really have a preference at this point as to whether we're the 7 or 8 because I don't know who's going to be 1 and 2. So it's going to be interesting. I mean, it's definitely going to be the drama that the NBA loves so much.
That's for sure, my friend. So when it comes right down to it, the Lakers, again, if they go 3-0, they give themselves every bit of chance and opportunity to go ahead and move up in the standings. Because like I said, Phoenix, Sacramento, and also as well, New Orleans, there's a little bit of intertwining as far as at least they all can't go undefeated. So there is the possibility because they play against each other. So there is the possibility of them moving up. I know Phoenix also has a double set against the Clippers. So we'll see what happens. But I want to get back to earlier in the weekend when it comes to Cleveland. I don't know if you caught that game or I don't know how well you've seen the Lakers lately. The Lakers won up until that point, including that Cleveland victory, 9 out of 10, playing at some of their best level, I guess you could say, since the IST, as far as it's concerned. When this team plays like the team you saw last week, when they were with their winning ways on the road, how much more confident or how much more belief do you have in this team? Because again, you, Jamie, even to myself to an extent, we're kind of like the last always because we're seeing so much basketball. We're so realistic as far as what we think the Lakers or what we think NBA teams do. We're kind of always like the last to go ahead and say, you know what, they're going to do this, they're going to do that. But I'm starting to believe after I've seen that trip and seen how well they played in that 10-game stretch, how much they can get done. When you see them play like that, how far do you think they can go?
I'm holding firm, Gerald, and I don't want to, but I think, I mean, I still think they cap out as a second round team. Like, I think that's sort of the best they can do this season. People are going to get mad over it, whatever, but that's just how I see it. This hasn't really changed enough for me to fully change that opinion because, I mean, in order to get through the conference finals and, ultimately the finals, you have to have a better team than just 5 players and a bad coach. I mean, that's ultimately what it comes down to. If you only have 5 players, you don't have a bench, you don't have a coach, then you're not going to beat the teams that do. And I think no matter how good you play, it's just mathematically, it's not going to work out in your favor. So I still think, I mean, my confidence has improved that the Lakers can maybe now get past the first round, depending on who they play in that first round. I think I kind of thought they didn't really have much of a chance before, these last 15 games or so. Now I do. I do have a level of confidence they can do that, but I don't really see them getting to a conference finals this time around. And what they've done has been impressive in terms of what they've locked in on. They've really shot the ball, extremely well. They've rebounded better than how they started the season. They've been better. There's no question about it. But when you look at the ways they've gone about getting better, it's not due to better coaching. It's not due to having better players. It's just that your players are now doing what is sort of expected of them and shooting, just making more shots. They're not getting shots as a result of better coaching. They're not defending at a higher level due to better scheming. It's a lot of, they're starting to click because the starting lineups played for a long time together now. And they understand where they might move on the court better to get better looks. But ultimately, like I said, you're going up, you have 5 players and you're going up against teams that probably have 8 and a good coach, and the Lakers just don't.
When it comes to what we're seeing with the Lakers themselves, though, you've got to be encouraged by the play of DAngelo Russell, who at this time, conveniently in a contract year where you can go ahead and opt out and become a free agent, obviously is a good timing for him. Obviously, his shooting is very, very good at right around 42%. It was mentioned on the Hoop Collective, that show that I listened to, that he's been shooting 43% for quite a stretch. Again, the numbers are there. I know his turnovers, even though this part of the season, as Sean pointed out, is a little his numbers, the turnovers are probably the lowest point of his career, and the assisted turnover ratio is very good. The turnovers for LeBron and D'Lo at this part of the season, maybe the latter part of the season, has been a little bit more than what I'd like to see, but still, they've been taking care of the ball well most of the season, both him and LeBron. Your thoughts on DAngelo Russell, if you think the Lakers, with a good stretch, with a good playoff run, primarily for him, because a lot of eyes will be on how he performs in the playoffs. If he has a decent run, how does that bode well for him being retained by the Lakers?
Regardless of how he plays in the play-in and or playoffs, he's not going to be retained by picking up his option. I think at this point that's pretty clear. I think he's going to decline that option and get more money. Now, whether that comes from the Lakers or another team, we'll have to wait and see. But I feel very confident at this point in time that he will not be back on the Lakers for 1 year and $18 million. I think that he's going to decline that, try and get longer term money. You look at someone like Grayson Allen right now on the Phoenix Suns. I think he has an extension that he can have of.
He also has the same type of option as well, I believe.
Yeah, and if he were to, I think he can get 475 on an extension deal with the Suns. He might outplay that even, and that's Grayson Allen. And I think DAngelo's probably, I think most people would say that DAngelo's probably a better player than Grayson Allen even. So I think you're looking at like 4 years, 25 million a year, 4 years, 100 to retain D'Lo. You have to consider 2 things, I think, when looking at something like that. One is, I guess 3 things. One is, can he provide that value for you? Can he replicate what he's done this season for another season and possibly even more after that? I don't know. I don't have a good answer to that because we haven't seen this version of DAngelo Russell in 6-7 years, and then now we see it. Is it here to stay? Who knows? It stayed for this season. Will it stay for multiple seasons? We can't say definitively. The second thing you're going to have to look at is, can you still do what you want to in the off season without the ability to use DAngelo Russell as a part of it? I don't know. I tend to think not. I think you probably need DAngelo, his value on the court and his value on a payroll, to be able to move pieces to upgrade if that's what the Lakers are after with adding picks and maybe Reeves or Hachimura. I tend to think that you're gonna have to have D'Lo as a part of that, but again, I can't say definitively. The third thing you have to look at is he really worth 4 years of that type of money? Because if he doesn't, if this is a 1 year thing, or even if he does play next year just as well as he did this year, and then you have 3 years of him playing how he did before, that contract starts to look not too good, and it a lot more difficult to move when you're at 25 million a year. So um, I think that there's a lot of things to consider when you look at D'Lo and what he's going to be this summer. Uh, but I'm pretty certain that he's not going to be an $18 million player for 1 more year for the Lakers.
Another player who's been talked about, I know that the bench has been a source of some issues as far as the inconsistent productivity, and that's with most NBA teams, the inconsistency you can find on a regular basis. But the Lakers have had one of the poorest scoring benches in all of the NBA. I've talked about it last week on 2 occasions, and don't need to elaborate on here. But one of the surprises, I guess, especially to Joe, who's saying it in the comments right now, in the best Lakers chat room that's out there, the Lakers Fast Break, is Jackson Hayes. Jackson Hayes, as a role man, is absolutely elite, because that's the one thing he's been doing right all season. Defensively, for a guy that's 7 foot and athletic, he's absolutely terrible. For a guy that's supposed to be a rim protector, he doesn't protect the rim. So there's going to be a little bit of tit for tat. You found the one thing he does very well. And as we saw yesterday, when he had to play extended minutes due to Anthony Davis's injury, you saw that the Lakers kept going to it time and time again. That's good. But of course, I've told you about the bad. Your thoughts on Jackson Hayes? He as I explained to Alan, like most of the Lakers minimum contracts, they do have a second year option if they want to keep it. Like, for instance, Christian Wood, because of his season went so sour, I would assume he'd keep it. Cam Reddish, I'm not so sure, but Jackson Hayes is definitely probably going to opt out on his. But your thoughts on Jackson Hayes, if he can go ahead. Ox 1947 says he was never rim protector. Then at 7 feet with athletic skill, what does he do for you on the defensive end?
Yeah, I think with Hayes, I think this is probably one of the best years of his career. I think that he is, he is basically a role man. He has off-court issues that go beyond immaturity. If you want to look into that on your own time, you can, if you're watching this or listening. But
I've heard some things just to say that off
yeah, yeah. So offensively, I think he's exceeded expectations, at least my expectations when we signed him. I wanted him this summer. I wanted the Lakers to sign him on a minimum before I knew the extent of other things that he had going on. But and so far, I think he's been good as a minimum guy. Like, I think you've gotten that value out of him. I think that he's been a positive minimum player, and I think that that's really all you can ask for someone making that kind of money. I think you shouldn't expect much more out of him because he hasn't been that in, I think like 4 years prior to this. He's a good role player, or excuse me, a good roller out of the pick and roll. He's not a very good defender. He is a good help side defender. You can't play him with the primary defender though, because you lack spacing. Because our only primary defender is Anthony Davis. So at the rim at least, and then you don't have the spacing. So I think he is a sufficient third string center who in pinch times can play as a backup if you need him as an off game here or there because someone's in foul trouble. Play him as the backup, but I don't want to rely upon
You
Jackson.
said as a third center last week. I thought that was the best
Yeah,
waivers.
that's what I'm saying. Like I'm fine with him even being a backup if it's here and there, but I don't want to rely upon him being my backup for the entirety of a season. Um, and I think that if is trying to get more money, and he'll get more than a minimum. Depending on how much more it is, I'd let him walk. If he's looking for a 3-year $15 million deal, maybe, but I think most things beyond that, if you're looking to start paying him $8 to $10 million a year, then I'm probably letting him go to a different team.
Once again, it is the Lakers Fast Break. It is Stone Hansen at report_court. Please follow him today to get the latest notifications on what he's looking at as far as the NBA drafts. Heavy Duty says, what's JHS's value? And I don't know. If we were at a store, would it be the bargain bin, the clearance bin, 99-cent store? That chain just went out. So would you be called discounted? I don't know. Second rounder at best right now, Stone?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's declined from where they took him at 17. I don't think you're going to get, even in this draft, probably the 17th pick for him. And this draft is touted to be a pretty weak draft by a lot of people. So I think you've lost value on him thus far. Yeah, I mean, I think you're probably looking at a couple seconds that you could get for him if you wanted to move him. Maybe I think most likely he's probably used, if he is moved by the Lakers, as some sort of sweetener in a bigger deal.
One of the names from the not so good rookie draft class that we got, because I think it's probably the worst we've had in a long time, is Colin Castleton. When he is the best that you've got, or has produced the best or the most for the Lakers on an NBA court this season, that's not saying a whole lot. But through the wires asking is he going to be getting some run in the playoffs? He assumes so if we don't get it back up big. I'm going to tell you right now, through the wire, as much as I would like to see him out there a little bit more, I don't think he's going to get any kind of run. He is like the absolutely break glass in case of fire, because even in the games now where you should be playing him a little bit more, Stone, they're only playing him in garbage time, and that's it.
Yeah, which I think is fine. I mean, I don't think I would like to see more run from him too, but he is a rookie. I mean, it's most people I think expect off the bat rookies to be good, including JHS. Like I'm very down on JHS. I don't think he's that good of a player.
You didn't from the start.
Yeah, but I also think that people have put expectations on players that shouldn't be there, because generally speaking, outside of like maybe 5 to 6 guys in any given draft, the vast majority of them are going to be negative players for the first year, and a lot of those players even into their second year, they're just going to be negative value on the court. But you have to let that happen in order to get positive value from them eventually. So a lot of times, even with JHS, like I'm pretty out on him, but I don't think people should have expected much from him in the beginning, because most rookies just are bad. That's just how it goes.
But would have been unreasonable to expect maybe, let's say, 7 to 10 points a game, couple assists, just somewhere he can get you at this point in the season, Stone, 10 to 15 minutes a game, maybe even 20, like we're seeing with some of the other rookies that were drafted in and around his area.
I mean, would it be better? Yeah. I mean, would I prefer that?
I
Obviously,
mean, what do
but
I say would have been realistic for people to expect that at this point in the season?
um, I think it's realistic to ask for that, but I don't think people should be overly disappointed when it doesn't happen, is how I'd phrase it. I think that it's a reasonable expectation to think he could do that as the 17th pick. Um, you'd want your 17th pick to maybe hit that sort of value, but if they don't, to me, it's not the end of the world in the first year. Again, I don't see JHS really providing that sort of anything more than that value, even over the course of the next few years. But uh, separate from that, I also think that he is he shouldn't have very much expectations because just most rookies are bad. That's just kind of how it goes.
The thing is, though, he has to, as we saw in Summer League, you and I were at Summer League, and we saw him there literally, and it also during the course of the whole season, when he did get his opportunities or when he did play, he has shown that he's not able as of yet to defend or shoot at an NBA level, which are two of the most paramount things that you need to do in the league. So if he can at least acquire one of those skills and grow one of those skills, hopefully both, I don't know if the Lakers will have enough patience to go ahead and see it through.
Yeah, I mean, like if you, I'm trying to think how to phrase this. Generally speaking, I don't like to change my pre-draft opinions of players very much after their first year because I just expect pretty much all of them to be bad. Yeah, it takes time for them to grow into what you think they might be. I don't think JHS is going to necessarily grow into much. And if you've watched a lot of this season, I think it's a pretty safe conclusion to say it was a bad pick because Brandon Podziemski and
Jaime
Cam
Jaquez.
Whitmore, Jaime. I mean, all these guys are playing better than what JHS is, and that's indicative of it being a bad pick. I think, and again, I don't want to say that all these guys are going to be great based off of a rookie season because we've seen that story play out before in the past, but I think it's safe to assume they're probably going to be better than what JHS can provide. And I think within that context, you can say that this was a bad pick.
And then Maxwell Lewis, again, he has had opportunities, just a little bit more. A lot of it, though, in garbage time and whatnot. So, I mean, he hasn't been able to show us anything as well too much on the NBA level. You still have higher hopes for him. I repeat, they're not that much higher, but there's still higher hopes for you for Maxwell Lewis to do something with the Los Angeles Lakers.
Yeah, I mean, I think again, if you're, I don't know the exact percentage, but if you're taking someone in the 40s, especially, you shouldn't expect them to do much for you. Like, I think I'm just kind of ballparking here because I don't have the exact percentage, but most likely within the past like 25 years, probably only like 20% of the picks in the 40s actually pan out to have NBA careers beyond like 2 or 3 years. Like I think most picks in the 40s are not going to be anything. You're hoping they are, and you're taking the best of what you think can be something. But the reality is most players taken in the 40s are just not going to be NBA players. And I think that with Max, I hope that he becomes one, but I'm not banking on it. I think that I have higher hopes for him than JHS, and he was always rawer than JHS. Like as bad as JHS might look, Max is probably worse at this point in time because he's just a rawer guy. And I think I kind of assumed that the first 2 years of Max's career were not going to be as an NBA contributor. You're going to have to let him develop probably in the G League and get reps there before you can put him on an NBA court and see what sort of value he can provide. And I think as of now, that's how it's played out. I mean, he hasn't provided NBA value on the court, and that's sort of what I expected. Will he in another year or two? Maybe, maybe not. He looks far away from it right now. But I'm not banking my hopes on the number 40 whatever pick that he's going to provide a whole lot of value.
I understand in the years you and I have been doing this, as far as following the draft, making our own mock drafts, things of that nature, spending time, hours and hours looking at video. I haven't done it this year like you. I kind of took some time off, but when I was doing it and when I was doing my own mock drafts and whatnot, it's just the time you spend on it. I understand that it's a crapshoot and that you can get it way wrong. But when you see, like tomorrow night, we're going to see Golden State, and they have not one but two of their drafted rookies in their rotation. I'm not saying they're going to be stars. I'm not saying anything at this point in time. I'm just saying they're already 70 plus games into the season, already great rotation. In fact, Podziemski starts and Trace Jackson Davis is their big guy off the bench.
He starts now, actually. I think.
Trace, he does start. He does start.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's a
I didn't know
starting center now.
I thought he started. I wasn't sure if he started in place of Draymond Green or whatnot, but he plays alongside Draymond. Then, if that's the case, he does. I know they got Looney. His game went off the deep end, and obviously that's been great for TJD to go ahead and come in there because he's the way he was playing against us earlier this season is paramount and evident of that. But I wanted to ask your thoughts on this. How much does it hurt as a Lakers fan and someone who follows the draft or who has in the past followed the draft so closely, see Golden State get 2 productive players out of the draft and the Lakers get 0?
Well, definitely
they both were available. They both were available at the times the Lakers picked.
Yeah. Well, with Trace, I was definitely lower on him than I should have been. And so I wasn't, I mean, that's just my mistake. I can't put the blame on anyone else but myself because for whatever reasons the Lakers passed on him. I also probably would have because I was too low on him. I missed on him. As for with the 17th pick, and again, also that's like a pretty late pick. That's not something you could really, bank on because he's so late. I mean, there are people that were high on him, and credit to them for getting that right. But most of the guys in the second round, you're not going to get value out of. So that one doesn't sting as much, but definitely like the 17th pick, really, I was frustrated with when it happened, and less so now because it's not as reactionary, it's not as fresh. But I think that when I think I had Podziemski top 10, or it's Podziemski. I always pronounce it wrong.
You had Podziemski. You had him high. I remember you talking to me about it, and you had him very high in your draft.
Yeah, I was because I was very certain that he was going to be at least like a 6-man quality type player. And for the Lakers to pass on someone I felt so certain about and to draft someone that I liked quite a bit less than most people, that was really frustrating because I knew the type of player that they could have gotten. I'm not even mentioning Cam. I had Cam Whitmore top 5. And so
a lot of people had Cam Whitmore top 5.
Yeah. But again, let's say even Whitmore is gone. Like to me, Podziemski was a very clear top 10 type player. And to pass on that was very frustrating to me because I felt very certain that the Lakers could have gotten a good player with that pick that would have provided value even as soon as this year, maybe.
Once again, it is Stone Hansen. Please go ahead and follow him today at report_court. That's at report_court on Twitter. He's back doing what he loves the most, and that is scouting some prospects. So before we get to that and your early impressions, your very early impressions on what you've seen so far, I wanted to go ahead and touch on the final 3 games for the Lakers. They're very winnable games, Stone. And there's still the possibility, I think the Lakers, if things fall correctly, can go to 7th. But the teams above them have to find their way out as far as losing some of these games. And there is a possibility because in the case of Sacramento and New Orleans, they do play each other. So your thoughts, my friend, how realistic is it to you that the Lakers can move up to 8th or 7th by this time next Sunday?
I mean, playing the Pelicans is a big deal because they don't have Ingram. You're probably a better team with them not having him. So that to me is a big one. Like I said, I do feel confident that the Lakers can win out. I think they could go 3-0 these final 3 games. You can only control what you can control, though. For the rest of these teams, I don't know how it's going to shake out. They could do what they need to for us and lose, and that goes well for us. The Kings have the Suns, which is difficult. The Thunder, I think they'll probably win because the Thunder are not playing J-Dub and Shea right now, which if I'm going to put my tinfoil hat on, I think it's because the Thunder don't want a top 2 seed with their first round. I think they probably want to be third with who they play. And so, yeah, I mean, I think the most likely is we overtake, I think, the Pelicans just because we play them and they are playing Sacramento and the Warriors as well. And they don't have Ingram. That makes it tough. The Kings, I think, is less likely to overtake because I think they have a little bit easier of a schedule, and I think they are playing better than the Pelicans are. So, yeah, I don't know. Like I said, you can only control what you have power over, and the Lakers, I think, have what it takes to go 3-0. But as to the rest, it's it is what it is.
Big shout out to Sean Harder for the great email he sent us, LakersFastBreak@yahoo.com. Definitely appreciated the thoughts and also statistical analysis on how well our perceptions is of LeBron and D'Lo as far as being a little bit sloppier with the ball. But again, as I sent back just word to Sean, I think a lot of that has to do with the increase in scoring as well. You get more opportunities. You're being a little bit more as far as your transition game. It seems to be going a little bit better, but the Lakers have been one of the highest scoring teams in recent months. And I think there's always a correlation to do that as far as we've always seen it with other teams, like for instance, Golden State. The more they score, the more they go ahead and turn the ball over, et cetera, et cetera. So it may be a byproduct of that. But again, the Lakers have been playing really well yesterday, regardless. So if they continue to play and get back to that way that they won 9 out of 10 for the rest of the week, they can go 3-0 and definitely make some noise and possibly even get up to the 7th seed. But again, we'll be here to report on it. Glad to do so. And then big shout out to Douglas as well, who emailed us and said, what are the odds if AD comes back for tomorrow's game that Draymond Green will immediately go for that eye stone? Boom!
Plus 200. I don't know. I mean, I think
Vegas might put a prop on it. I'm just gonna say it out loud.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, I'd rather not play the Warriors because watching Draymond, he's a great player, but he irritates me with how much he gets away with stuff on the court. But it is what it is. I think that and obviously having to watch Pajemski be out there and contribute to them playing well is going to be frustrating. But
it hurts a lot. That stretch that they went, that when they played them last, and TJD went on that run, that was really painful for me. I literally was grabbing anything and just like squeezing it and breaking stuff in my hands. I was so mad.
Yeah, I think if we face up against the Warriors, if that's how it plays out in the play-in, I think I feel good about our chances in that, which I don't think I could have said 10, 15 games ago. But I feel good that we can get past that. When it comes to a different team, I don't know. We'll see. I think versus the Pelicans, I feel decent too if we had to face them. But
I don't think we're going to be able to avoid Denver all 3 rounds or all 2 rounds, to get to meet them again in the Western Conference Finals. I have a feeling that Denver might fall somewhere sooner for us, and again, that's going to be a very tall order for us.
Yeah, I don't see us beating Denver. I'll just leave it there. And
nobody in our chat, nobody out there, well, except for Laker Tom, nobody has actually put us past the Nuggets. So
yeah, I was gonna say, I don't think of all the takes I've had on this show, that's probably one of the most mild ones.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, and Joe, he'll go, on and on and on because he's now on the train, thinking very positive about the Lakers, but then he stops short at the Nuggets. Everybody stops short to the Nuggets. If Murray's there, that's my caveat. If Murray is there and Murray's playing, which I'm sure they're trying to do, he's had shin splints and other injuries. Man, as someone who's had shin splints, that is painful as all, and it stays with you. It's a thing you have to rest your legs. And obviously during the course of the season, he's not doing a whole lot of resting, even though he is sitting out games. So Denver will get as far as Murray will take them, in my opinion. It's not about Jokic to me. It's about Murray, because Jokic is there. He's always there. He always gets you the video game number, Stone. But Denver will go as far as Murray will take them.
Yeah, I think that's true after probably the first 2 rounds. I think the first 2 rounds, if push comes to shove, the Nuggets are probably good enough to get past, with Jokic leading the way, because I think Jokic personally is out of anyone in the league, makes his teammates better than anybody else in the league. Like, I think he elevates the rest of that team more than anybody else could or does on their own teams. And I think he would make guys just pick up the slack more. I think KCP would be better. I think all the other starters would just be better. It's obviously harder, but I think they have enough to get past those first 2 rounds without Murray if they had to. After that, then yeah, I think it gets to a point where you probably need Murray to keep winning out. But I think Jokic is just that good to where he can carry a team and put them on his shoulder for lower seeded teams.
I can't say I disagree with you, but we'll see, my friend. We'll see how it plays out over the next week. It'll be interesting to see. But before we end it out, my friend, you, like Al Pacino in the famous words of Godfather 3, wanted out and they pulled me back in. It pulled you back in, the lure of the draft once again, and you were checking out prospects as good as anyone out there, my friend. You're already tweeting out there, and I've been trying to retweet the ones that I think that really our audience would enjoy. Really, if you're a draft head out there, a draft fan, you've got to go and follow @report_court. It is Stone Hansen. Before we head on out, my friend, and I know tonight, as we're talking now, and audio listeners will listen to this after the national championship game coming up here between Connecticut and Purdue. But with all that said and done, my friend, you said you're going to see that down the line, but who has been interesting to you so far, getting an early taste of the prospects as we head into the summer?
Yeah, I mean, full transparency, I've only watched 13 guys in this class, which is not many.
But when you watch them, you watch a lot of footage on each and every one.
I try to, yeah, definitely. Probably less so. I've scaled it back a little than years prior. But yeah, for every player, I try to watch at least the top guys, like probably 6 or 7 games, and then as we get lower and lower in the names, I think it's less important to be right about those guys. And so I probably watch like 3 or 4 to get a basis of guys, and they're more one dimensional anyway, so it's easier to get a grip of what you're watching faster than it is for guys that are higher up in the draft. Yeah, so I think that so far my number one, I think most people is Sar, from what I've seen. I think mine is probably Ron Holland. He's impressed me the most of anyone in this class. I think I've watched pretty much all the top names, or what are considered the top names in this class so far, with your, Risa Shares, your SARS, Ron Holland, all that stuff, Toppich. And it's definitely, in my opinion, a lot weaker. Probably the weakest. This is my 9th year doing it, and it's probably the weakest at the top that I've seen since doing this. So it's definitely a weaker class. I don't know how deep it is, because those are two different things. You can have a weak class at the top, but still have a good 50 guys that have a decent chance of becoming NBA players that make rosters. But I don't know. I haven't gotten that deep in this class yet. So far, I can only base on the top 13 guys I've seen, and in comparison to years past, it's definitely weaker to me than what I've seen.
Two quick questions before we head on out. As far as Ron Holland, he was heading into the season the definitive number one choice in this bad draft, but as you've seen, Stone, prospectus has changed otherwise. Now you're putting him back at the top of your class. What are you seeing from him that really is standing out to you? Again, mixed results. We're playing with the G League, which the G League Ignite, as you know, will be no more here. Well, actually, it's probably, I think they're finished their season. So they are no more. So your thoughts on Ron Holland? And then actually, I want to, we'll ask about the G League Ignite as well. But Ron Holland, what is it really having you stand out with him? Because when I saw him for the footage, or when I saw him play against the team, SARS team, Australian team, I think that's where I started to see some flaws in his game as far as a great driving, but the things that allow him to get open or allow him to go ahead and drive, he still needs a lot to work on there.
Yeah, I like Ron. So for perspective, I kind of, to get a gauge for people on like the strength of this class relative to others. Like last year, I kind of looked back. To me, Sar, I probably would have taken him 8th or 9th last year. And with Ron Holland, I probably would have taken him anywhere between like 4th and 6th, somewhere in that range. So that's just to give people a bit of perspective. But yeah, as far as Ron, I think that he is, I think he's a very creative driver. He's not just driving based on like pure athleticism and strength. I think he's actually really smart with where he picks up the ball, how he chooses to absorb contact at different pressure points, his foot placement, the shin angles that you can get. When you're watching guys drive, it's important to look at things like, for people that are watching on video, I'll try and show you, like, instead of running straight like this, if you have your angles or your shins angled inward, you can get more of an advantage and get to the rim faster by doing that. And Ron is very good at doing that. I think he times his double teams very well defensively. Good hands defensively, good touch around the rim. I really buy, this is probably what separates me from a lot of people in terms of how I view Ron, is that I'm pretty confident in long-term shooting ability. I think he's going to be a very passable shooter at an NBA level. Maybe not ever great, but I think he can get 36-37% on decent volume. And I think that he's going to be just a real physical, good player. He has flaws, but I don't view his flaws as disparagingly as most probably do. So that's probably why I'm higher on him than a lot of people.
So before I get to question on the G League Ignite, Donovan Clingan, he is playing in tonight's championship game against Zach Edey, another big guy who has risen up draft charts, slimmed down a little bit, although slim, that's, he's still right around the 300 mark. He has been more agile, athletic, and still been able to provide you dominant numbers as far as Zach Edey is concerned. But Donovan Clingan is moving up draft charts himself. He went from right around where the Lakers, if they keep their draft pick, would be picking, to somewhere in the 5 to 12 range. Your thoughts? Have you been able? Is he one of your guys that you're thinking of in that mix?
Yeah, I've been able to get to him, and I watched him a bit last year too. So I had somewhat of an understanding of who he is headed into this year. But he is someone I've been able to get to. And yeah, I mean, there's some people that I think have him probably, I think, top 3, and that's fine. But I think he's a good center. Like, he's someone that I feel very confident will be a starting center, and I think that has value innately. If you can draft a guy that you believe can anchor your defense and be able to start for your team, and you're confident in that, then I think that's worth taking top 10 for sure. Um, in this class, maybe higher. I haven't been able to get to everyone, like I said. As of now, I have Kling in fifth of the guys that I have watched. And again, I think I've watched most of the top guys thus far. I have him fifth because I felt confident that he's going to be a starting center. And in this class, if you're able to be confident that you're getting a starter, I think that's worth taking that high. I think he's a good defender. I think he's a really good passer. I think most people in draft circles already know that. People that are maybe more casual with how they follow the draft, on a more casual basis might not know that, but and it they might not pop numbers wise, but when you watch the film, I think he's really good at finding cutters going to the rim. He's very accurate with his passes, so I think he's a very good passer. Defensively, I think he's pretty much relegated to a drop coverage, which is how a lot of teams play nowadays anyway. So I don't think it's that big a deal. But you probably don't want him out on the perimeter. You want to mitigate that as much as you can. Um, and I think offensively, I don't buy the shot at all. People thinking he's like this unicorn, I think are misinformed perhaps because I don't think he's that, but I do think he has good enough touch around the rim and good enough in the pick and roll to be able to provide value offensively and not be someone that is more of like just a one way player. So I think Klingon, because I've watched a lot of the top guys so far, there's not many I think that seem to probably have the chance to usurp him on my board. So I think I'll probably stay at least in the 5 to 7 range by the end of the draft.
Yep. Sorry, fans out there. I know at one time he and Filipowski were like looped together right there in the teens, but it looks like he, as the usual case we see Stone every year, somebody rises up the draft boards during tournament time, and it's been him. I do want to go ahead and mention Sean asked about Terrence Shannon from Illinois. I don't know how high he is for you, or if you've actually had a chance to see some recent footage of him yet.
Shannon is a guy I think I've watched him. I'm pretty sure I at least watched his senior year in high school. I can't remember if I watched his junior year. So I've watched him for a good 3-4 years now. I think he's a junior, so I think 4 years. I really liked him last year. I thought he was someone that should have stayed in. I'm pretty sure he got a big NIL deal, and that's why he went back to school. But I think that, in my opinion, last year, let me pull up exactly. Well, I'll just say I'm pretty sure I had him top 20 last year, so I was pretty high on him. And last year was a much better class. So if he were in this class, there's a good chance I have him lottery. He's older, but I think he's just a very good basketball player. That said, I had heard of the rape stuff that came out with him. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that because you're on
That's
YouTube.
fine. You're
Okay.
fine.
I heard about
The
that stuff.
allegations that
Yeah, the allegations that came out with that. I haven't followed the draft closely until like last week, so I don't know what has come as a result of that. I don't know where that stands currently, because I've been mostly just focused on watching film of the top guys, working my way down. So I don't know where that is. If obviously if that's a thing that is a part of who he is as a prospect, then I would want nothing to do with him. Um, and I imagine that's going to overshadow anything he does in the pre-draft process. That's going to be the focus of every NBA team that has any sort of semblance of interest still in him. That's what they'll be focusing on him rather than the game. As for the game aspect, like I said, I think he's a very good basketball player. And I think I'd probably have him lottery if, depending on how things work out.
again, we still have yet to find out exactly about any, the trial dates and things of that nature. I'm looking up about something that was posted 11 days ago by the Des Moines Register, but yeah, it's still preliminary hearings. Yeah, it's still very early in that process. So it's been pushed back to May 10th. So we won't. Maybe we'll get a little bit better idea of what's going on by draft time, but yeah, it's still very, very concerning, obviously, for any NBA team. And if you see him go down draft boards, his case, that might be a reason why. So,
Yeah, I think that the fact it's even a question is pretty concerning. But yeah, if anything further goes with it, I don't expect to hear his name called on draft night.
Now, I know Craving's asking you what wisdom that what the Lakers should do next season. Do you not want to say anything yet? You just want to evaluate first, and then because you and I, I'm sure, will have plenty of time together to talk about what the Lakers will use. We don't even know if the Lakers will keep their first round draft choice, so that has not been solidified as
Is
of yet.
it wisdom regarding the draft or just wisdom in
What the
general
Lakers
of
should
their
do
off
for next,
season?
for next season? Yeah, I guess general.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll get to that in the summer. Plenty. I think that. Yeah, I think the Lakers. My quick, big, broad answer is I think the Lakers should start over. That's sort of been my how I viewed it for a while now. But we can get more into that in the summer, obviously.
Absolutely. But once again, it is Stone Hansen. Great to have you here, my friend. Oh, one last question. The G League Ignite is no more. The experiment for the G League Ignite has been defunct because of the NIL and other the various things. But I don't know what this does for Overtime Elite. We'll see what it does for them. But my friend, G League Ignite, I don't want to say it was a failure because I thought, it was something that I think was good for players who did not want to be part of the college vernacular. But now that they can get paid pretty good as far as staying in college, I guess there is no longer a need for it. But I'm sorry to see it go because the level of competition, yes, Scoot Henderson, I understand he's not played well, and Miller from Charlotte has. But to me, the experience playing against that next tier of players, to me, or ones that are at an NBA level or just right there, to me, I think that is so much better than what you can get on the college platform. But then again, unfortunately, we'll never know over a longer period of time if that's the case.
Yeah, I think. I mean, yeah, I'm never necessarily in the business of saying what a player should and shouldn't do. Like that's up to them. But I also think that the players are undoubtedly playing better competition in the G League.
Are you sad to see it go? Let's just put it that way.
I'm not sad to see it go because I don't think that players are missing out on anything they couldn't get elsewhere. If players wanted the one thing they're missing out on is a professional experience in America. I think if they want a professional experience, they can still get that. It just is going to have to come via a different country, and that's probably why you see the NBL is so popular because it's probably the closest thing to American culture that is a good basketball league. Versus having to go play in China or something and have a total culture shock. I think that's why most guys that go the international route go to the NBL. I think that it served its purpose. I think it was 100% a worthwhile experiment for the NBA to do. I think that um, good on them for trying it. I think that it was worthwhile to see if you can develop some sort of a alternative to the options that prospects already had. Um, there's a lot of stuff with the college, and I don't think it all had to do with money either. I think that um, not everyone is made to go to college, me included. I didn't go, and I think that not every player is going to want to go. So having another option besides having to go to college, I think, uh, is a good thing. They can, like I said, they could still go pro and avoid that. Um, and I think ultimately, when you have 17, 18, 19, and 20-year-old field rosters going up against grown men who are, a level down of trying to get in the NBA, it's probably not going to be very successful. At least their teams aren't going to be very successful. They have occasional 38, 40-year-old guys that are helping them, but and that's great for guidance, mostly off the court, probably. And but you're not gonna probably win a whole lot and develop a winning culture by having a bunch of high schoolers or barely out of high school type age guys all on one team together. So I think there's ways it could have been done a little better, but we would have never known if that would work out or not either. So I think it was a worthwhile experiment. I think it was good, and I think that the players that went into it probably don't. Not many of them probably regret their decisions.
I will say this. Yes, the team was absolutely terrible on a competitive level. I mean, I think they won 3 or 4 games all season. They were absolutely abysmal in that sense, but these guys were learning. You could tell that they were learning and developing and getting maybe an education in basketball, working with NBA. I don't want to say NBA level coaching, but like NBA level assistant coaches and sometimes former head coaches in the league, just to get that kind of education and experience might have been very well worthwhile for, like you said, a lot of these players that did play in the G League Ignite. But as I can tell you, logistics, you can't pay these guys 500,000 or million or whatever it is that you're paying them. And when you've got a brand new arena in Henderson here next to Las Vegas, and you're not even filling 1/4 of it, and it's a 5,000 seat arena. So that tells you exactly how bad the attendance was until the very end. So yeah, they weren't making money off it. They were losing money. The NBA was hand over fist stone.
I have a solution though. It's called end the one and done rule and expand the NBA. If you allow guys to come out earlier, make their own decision for themselves, and not force them to have to play a year that they probably don't want to, and let them come out on their own time and expand the NBA where you have more roster spots, more time to give out to players, where they can still get this sort of development on an even higher level, maybe more sparse playing time. Um, but I think that is the solution where you now have a system that is obviously profitable with the NBA. They're making tons of money. It's not going to fail. And you are going to have guys that are going to come in earlier. They might not be as ready. Some might be, some might not. That's the decision they get to make for themselves, and they get to experience that pro level while the NBA is still able to profit from it. So I think that the solution is expand and get rid of the one and done, but that likely is not going to happen anytime soon.
Once again, it is Stone Hansen. Please go ahead and check out the great work that he is doing today at report_court right there. Getting back in. You're doing it, man. You're doing it. I was just so happy. And it's like a random tweet that started off about a couple weeks ago. And I was like, oh, he's doing it again. He didn't tell us, but he is doing it again.
I didn't tell anyone. I
yes.
just did it.
Just did it. Sean says, do the Silver Knights draw well? That's the minor league hockey team that also plays nearby. No, Sean. This team, this city only has it hasn't really supported well all the franchises that have been around here, but it does support on occasion Silver Knights if they go ahead and get the right promotion, but definitely supports the Golden Knights here in town. They've done a great job. We'll see that the true test. And the Raiders don't draw badly either here, especially with the other teams. All the fans coming from the other team flying into Vegas to go ahead and see the game at the stadium. But the real test will be when the Oakland A's come here to a stadium that no one in town actually wants. Even our mayor doesn't want the team here, doesn't want the stadium built. But it's
Well, you will get an NBA team soon enough. I think that's. At this point, I feel like it's inevitable, and it's
how many teams? Do you think it's 2 at Las Vegas and Seattle, or do you think it's 4 if you would include an international city like London or Mexico City?
I don't think it would be London just logistically. I think it's just too difficult. I think Mexico City definitely. Yeah, it depends. I guess how travel develops. But Mexico City, I think is, from what I had heard, they had really dug into Mexico City. That's why they have the Mexico City Capitales there, their G League affiliate. I think they're gonna really look into it. The biggest concern I had heard that they had was like player safety because of like cartels and stuff, but I don't know. That's just hearsay. I don't really know what they're fully looking at to be able to have a full country band together over one team. I think is going to be something they really look at, because that's a lot of profit. That's a lot of people to possibly profit from when they, if they ever do that. But I think for sure it's going to be Vegas and Seattle to start out. I think they start with 2 teams too, just to see how it goes. I don't expect them to start with 4. I actually kind of would prefer it, because I think there's more players deserving of more opportunities and playing time, and 4 teams would better do that. But I don't think they'll start with 4. I think it'll be 2, and maybe they'll see how that goes the first like 5 years, and then from there maybe look at another 2.
Once again, it is Stone Hansen. Please go ahead and check out the great work he's doing. Once again, I'm so happy because he's doing it today at report_court. Well, Stone, always great to have you here, whether you're on with us for playback, whether you come on for shows, whether you come on for post games. Always great to have you here, my friend. But any last thoughts before we head on?
No, not really. Hopefully the Lakers are able to take care of business and win those final 3 games. Whatever goes from there is how it works out. If you are interested in draft stuff, you can obviously follow me on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it, like Gerald said, and then maybe some work, some articles or work. And regardless, even if I don't do anything, you should follow Upside Swings if you're interested in draft stuff, because I know at least 2, Cooper and Bryce, who will be giving takes, and they're as equally or probably more intelligent than I am regarding draft stuff. So if you're interested in draft stuff, give them a follow as well.
It's funny. Craving said, okay, when they come to Vegas, what would you name the NBA team for Las Vegas? And I said the Lakers will still be more popular team. How about that? So
it's got to be the Spades, right?
I hope not, because we have the Aces already. Yeah, you're right. Compared to the Aces for the WNBA, Spades. I would say the Jackpot, some stupid name. We'll probably come up with a name.
I think Spades is kind of cool. I like Spades.
Okay, Spades is all right. I'll give it Spades. Yeah.
Yeah, if it's like the Dice or something, then that's kind of stupid.
Yeah, or I don't Golden Knights. You know how they were fighting for that one, and they managed to go ahead and get that one. But yeah,
I don't love that name either, to be honest.
At Vegas, you got I don't know why they're just the names here. Yeah, just crazy. But Sean says my Reds were very fortunate to sweep the A's, and that the A's are very. That was a very.
I don't think the NBA would allow that.
Oh no, not the Sinners for Sin City, but just the fact that we're doing that, because I was visiting Las Vegas in a time where Vegas was persona non grata to all these sports leagues because of sports gambling, and they were it was so beneath the NBA to even talk about it. Yet they were doing the summer leagues here. It all started with the summer league, Stone, where they just started coming out. I remember the old days. I was there for the old days back in the early 2000s when you would just go walk in, $5, $10. I don't remember how much it costs. You sit down anywhere you want. There's Jerry West right down on the other side of the aisle right there. There's like all these NBA. You would just go, because it'd be like maybe 500 people watching the games.
Yeah.
And that's it. So look what it is now, my friend, a full machine.
What happens when you have Wembanyama there too? But Scorpions would be a cool one too. I like Scorpions.
There you go. Yeah.
I
don't want them in. I
wouldn't want the tarantulas.
I don't like them in my house though.
Yeah, that would be scary. But I was gonna say, pay attention to where the NBA has event or does things. Like, they don't just pick cities at random. There's generally a purpose, and a lot of times it's filling out cities for possible expansion. So like Las Vegas was totally intentional. I think they picked Las Vegas because they wanted to field the market and see how how many people would be willing to travel there, or how many people that already are spending time in Las Vegas as a vacation would come to these things. I think that they are definitely market testing with a lot of this. I think that's why they put the Aces there and expanded the W with the Aces in Las Vegas. They're testing things. They want to see which markets are going to be the most profitable, and I think that they, especially with the sports betting and gambling that the NBA has gotten involved in. With, I mean, obviously, like Shams is with FanDuel. It's just sports betting has blown up, so I think it makes a lot of sense for Las Vegas to be the next city to get a team, and I'm pretty certain Seattle would be the other one.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Once again, it is Stone Hansen. Please follow him today. Please, if next time you're on Twitter, at report underscore current affairs says Las Vegas Jokers.
That's not bad.
That's not bad.
You already have the Joker in the NBA though, so I don't know. Maybe it gets confusing.
At report underscore court, indeed. So please go ahead and follow him today at report underscore court. Stone, you taking the time out of your day to go ahead and stop on by is greatly appreciated, always by us. But again, we'll be back tomorrow. The Golden State Warriors, they're on the docket for tomorrow night. A very key game to finally put them in the rearview mirror for 10th place, and we can go ahead and look at higher prospects. We'll at least have 9th place sewn up if that's the case with a win. If we can do more, we'll see. But definitely looking forward, Stone, to having you back on as much as you can be, and always looking forward to